folks, and welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 9 this week. First of all, just going to say, some of you watching on YouTube, you might notice I have a different background this week. That is because I am in Canada for this month. Returned home last week. Season's over in Germany, back home visiting some family and friends and stuff like that. This week, we're very happy to have on a friend of mine who I got to learn a lot about, learn how to work with. He taught me a lot in the coaching world when we worked together in Krimichow. This guy has played in top leagues in Europe, has coached in top leagues in Europe, and I think is one of the greater hockey minds in the game. Welcome to the podcast, Marian Bazany.
Here's it. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So normally what I do to start off, we kind of just go back to the roots, So you are actually Slovakian, born in Bratislava. Is that where you kind of grew up and started like learning to play the game of hockey?
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised in Bratislava. Actually, it was at the time when I was born, it was Czechoslovakia at the time, and yeah, I started playing hockey when I was probably 5, as far as I remember. Yeah, I remember actually. I went with my dad. Yeah, to public skating, and when we were done afterwards, there are little kids, skating around, having actually practice. I didn't know what they're doing. I just told my dad I want to go and try it, try it out, and yeah, that's how it all started. And that's how I got my first skates, and I went on the ice with the little kids at the time, at the age when I was 5, around 5, and yeah, and then yeah, I yeah, the first couple of years, it was a yeah, it was way different, like when I started playing hockey or start practicing with as a young boy, and compared to nowadays, that's like a day and night, right? Like we used to practice. I remember in the beginning, after my first year, I went to school, so we had practices before the school, and the school started at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So it was way too early, but we wanted to do it, right?
Yeah, that's I think a lot of, even in Canada, it's a lot of times like that. When you're first learning to play, it was always, go early before school because that's normally when you can rent the ice, because other minor hockey associations or whatever that have rep going, they need the ice after school. And that was one of my questions, was how was it in the minor hockey in Czechoslovakia back then? Was it kind of similar how it is now in Europe, where you had like, U9, U11 teams, or was it structured differently?
No, like structure-wise, it was the same. Like you would go like by the age, like from early on, and then you know the only difference was when it got I believe in the age of maybe 13, 14. That team at the time was like 3 years. You spend there for 3 years together, and then you move to the at the time I think it was called juniors, and you spend 4 years. Like that was the last one before you turned or before you went to play pro hockey, right? So now it's a little bit different, but at a young age it was the same, and yeah, yeah. I mean, I was fortunate in my career to win for different yeah, so-called systems, right? Like the hockey in former Czechoslovakia, or in the beginning in Slovakia, was influenced by um, I mean, there are different hockey schools, right? Like, or hockey ways, like but that former Czechoslovakian hockey was influenced by Russian big time, so. And I mean, at the time, it was still the eastern part of Europe, when we didn't get a lot of touch with the western part, so it was all
Mm.
influenced by more or less by Russian thinking, and also also, like the way how we practice, and it wasn't on only hockey or sport generally. It was the whole society, it was everything was strict, everything was controlled, so yeah, there was the time when I grew up, and then when I turned 14, 15, when I was turning 14, 15, then obviously the wall fall down, and everything was open, and yeah, yeah, I got in touch with or could see more of different ways of hockey, or the approaches, how the hockey was taught in different countries. Yeah.
And another thing I was curious about, you know, especially these days, there's for, the CHL back in Canada, so the OHL, QMJHL, WHL, there's always an import draft. I know back then, a couple guys were coming over, but how was it in Czechoslovakia or Slovakia? Like, was there a lot of guys like that kind of knew about the league over there in terms of junior and wanted to go there? Were a lot of guys going over, or was it more, hey, stay in our own country and start to work our way up in pro that way once we became of age?
Well, I mean, when I was really young, like, it was so different, right? It was so different. Like we knew there's an NHL, right? Like, obviously the best league in the world, and but there are so less informations, like getting over, and trickling through, and it started getting better. I would say it was like mid 80s. There was a world championship in Prague. um Canada, I remember Canada came with the Iserman, Lemieux, they played there, and right after, couple guys, Yiji Hrdina went to Calgary, he won a cup with them. And there was the time 85, 87, 89. Then they came to Czechoslovakia to play a couple exhibition games, Calgary Flames, so then it's when it got a little bit more open, then when all the informations are or were more served, and so at the time I was 10, right? So I was really young, and by the time I got to the juniors, like, yeah, there are already a couple players. They even went overseas. I remember, like, from my age, and so yeah, it kind of like it was a process, right? Like, at the time when I was growing up, like, like everything, right? Like the whole society, like you got open, and obviously it was easier to get the information or even travel, and so that's how it went at the time.
Yeah, no, it just always has interested me because like a lot of guests I've had on this podcast, we're always debating on, going the major junior route, so OHL and all that, or going NCAA. And in your instance, I would believe that not many guys were very uh had information on NCAA. So maybe, some of them were going like you said, to the OHL or something like that at a young junior age, because it allowed them to play in a league that at the time, especially in Canada and North America, was being, presented as, hey, if you play in this league, it gives you the best chance to go to the NHL because there's so many scouts following it all the time. Everyone's drafted from there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there are and even nowadays, there are so many different routes, how to get in the NHL, right? Like early on, it was I would say only, there was only one or two ways, and if you're left on the road somewhere, then nobody would pick you up, right? But nowadays, you see, even more when even the drafted players, they come back to their own clubs or countries, leagues to stay in there to develop, 1 or 2 years, so I think the approach and the mind change a lot, you know.
No, for sure. And then obviously in your case, you ended up starting your professional career at a very young age. I believe you're around 19, 20 years old. Like, how was that jump for you, at that young age, you'd obviously been working your way up in minor hockey, playing juniors, and then you made that jump to pro hockey. Like, how was that for you at that age?
Well, once again, there was a different sport, first of all, right? And yeah, I mean, yeah, I have to go back, like at, at the time when I signed my first contract, my pro contract. It was I was, I believe, 19, yeah, 19, and my first year, I was just happy to be in there, right? Like, all the players, like, lots of respect, right? Like, they wouldn't even talk to you, like, but at the same time, um, if they recognize or realize that you're doing your job, they let you know that you're on the right path. And I remember the first training camp. We would we started like end of July. Obviously, the seasons in Europe, as you know, they're starting earlier than the NHL. We have always training camps. We had like 6 week of training camp, and I remember the first week I spent the whole day or the whole days on at the rink, right? Because we had twice practices on the ice. So in the morning, we got in there, whatever, warm up at the gym or whatever, off ice before, and then after the practice, we were like 3, 4 young players. We would stay at the rink, just carry all the equipment out of the locker room, let it dry outside, in the sun. And then by the time when the next practice was, we would just carry it in, in the locker room and then just practice, So I remember there was yeah, but at the same time there was this good school, like for the future for me. Yeah.
No, I'm sure it definitely, you know, taught you a lot. And as you said, when you first went there, you were just, happy to be there, happy to have taken that next step. Obviously you ended up playing in Slovakia for a couple of years there, and then you decided to transition to Germany. I'm just curious, like, what was your decision behind going to Germany at the time?
Well, I have to go a little bit back. Um, I have to go a little bit back. When I started actually the pro career, my first year, like I said, I was 19. I had a kind of like a good start, like as a young player. And I supposed to go to the world, to the under 20s, the world championship. And I dislocated my shoulder first time. And I just kept playing. That year I didn't go for the under 20s, and then I finished the first year. I went for a surgery on my shoulder. Um, it took almost 3 months when I got recovered. So the next season was already starting. In November, next shoulder, the other shoulder dislocated, right away surgery. So I kind of like the first 2, 3 years, I was struggling with the surgeries, and with the injuries, and recovering and coming back, and it wasn't at the time, it wasn't easy, to crack the lineup, or to stay on a team, so I was, at the time, I was with the farm team, going back and forth, and then um I remember I actually wanted to stop playing hockey, right? I wanted to study like psychology, like I was so into it. And I, and then I was learning like for 4 or 5 months, to get ready for the test, and I remember the day when I supposed to go for the test, and I just stayed in bed, right? I didn't go, and I cannot tell you why. I Till nowadays I don't know. I just buckled down. I don't know why. I don't have any explanation for that. And and after that, um, I was like, either I'm gonna do something else, or I need a like a new start. And I was talking to some players from our team, and one of them had a really good connection to Germany. And he was already in Germany before. He used to play in Germany before, and told me, yeah, well, why didn't you try to go to Germany? And that's how I end up in Germany, and yeah, starting in a third league. Like I was actually surprised by the level in there, and yeah, and from there on, I worked my way up, and yeah, I had then my more or less my career then in Germany, right?
And you obviously, you are yourself a German citizen. You have a German passport. Is that something that you kind of attained along the way, or had you always had that in your back pocket through maybe family or something that allowed you to? Because obviously, in Germany, there's rules on imports. You can only have so many per team, depending on the league. It's higher or lower.
Yeah, no, I mean that wasn't planned. It wasn't planned that I'm gonna stay, like for well, now it's a half of my life in Germany, right? No, it just came, how it came, like it kind of like develops, and then I really liked the way of living in here, the hockey in here, I was really thankful, that I got a chance to play in here, and and to develop my game, and yeah, I mean, it was a long way, but no regrets, and yeah, I settled down in here. I have a family, two young boys, and life is good.
Yeah, I mean, passports are basically like gold, as a lot of people would say, especially German ones. But one thing I had a question about is, after you came to Germany, you made a quick stop in France, then you came back. You ended up spending 3 years in Regensburg in the second league, and I'm very curious. At this time, you're around the age of 26, 27 years old. Did you feel something different happening in your game? You were kind of maturing, getting that experience. Maybe you were training differently because you had 3 really good years in Regensburg, and then eventually that led to you going to the DL at the age of 30, which normally, that's not really an occurrence that happens, so much where someone at that age gets their first crack in the DL.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was maybe, I don't really have an explanation for that. I just think like thinking way back is maybe because of what happened when I was like young, like 20, 21, with my shoulders, when I kind of lost whatever 3 years, and was kind of like on the edge if I want to keep playing hockey or not, and then I decided to go to Germany, which was like kind of like a restart for me, and I always wanted to play hockey, professionally, and maybe that was like a kind of like a the booster for me, in a new country, like just to like prove myself, and also in like new society, like always like prove yourself, right? Like nothing take for granted, and I think that was kind of like maybe the breaking point for me too. In the Regensburg, we had a really good team. With a really good, there was a really good organization at the time. Nice city, and then it's like it's like in whole life, like you never know how it turns out in the end. You just need to be ready for it. You need to work hard for it, and be ready for it. And there are no guarantees, right? That you need to be a little bit lucky, once a while, and but if you don't work hard for it, then the chances are probably less that you're gonna make it, or you're gonna get the chance, at some point.
I've always believed that hard work pays off. Good things happen to good people, and I've talked to this with a lot of the guests I've had on, and what you said is 100% correct. That if you continue, working hard, believing in yourself, you will get a chance, and eventually, when you get that chance, you just have to be able to make the most of it. And obviously, you did, as I said, after those 3 years in Regensburg. And for me, I think the first year is kind of cool to talk about because you make the jump to the DEL, and then also you get a chance to play on the national team. Like we've talked about this before, like by ourselves. But can you just explain how that experience was and how it kind of came about?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I was yeah, I think I was 29 or turning 30. Actually, I was already 30 when I came to Dusseldorf, to the highest league in Germany, to play in the highest league in Germany. And yeah, you know what? I still remember the first couple of days. I was really like not nervous but excited, like just to go on the ice, and to get the chance. And yeah, we had a really good group of guys, like uh, Donnie Jackson. Donnie was our coach. He was his first head coach job in Germany at the time. And I remember like the beginning of the training camp, and I was like I was taking it so serious, like I was telling myself, there's no way that I'm not making a team, like there was no other way. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I was 30 at the time. When I started my career at 19, I played with one defenseman, experienced guy. He was, I believe, 30, 31 at the time. And at that time, he was already too old, right? And like I mean, there was 90, 94, 90, 93, 94. And and within whatever it was, 10 years, 11 years, like um the career ending age, it's been moved way higher than it used to be when I started playing pro, so no. And then yeah, I got a call up for the national team in the first national team break in November for the Deutschland Cup, or the German Cup, and that was for me just the confirmation that you're on the right path, you're doing the right things. And yeah. And then in next year in 2006, it was the same season, there are Olympics in Italy, in Torino, and I was on a team, and then I got cut off. Like I was already a week in Torino, and then obviously Germany had at the time three or four defensemen in the NHL, and everybody was healthy, everybody was going to Torino. So I got sent home. But it was a really good experience, at the time,
And
for
that's
me.
something, yeah, that's something that you obviously could carry with you. And I'm curious too the difference, between the leagues back then. Obviously now, uh, we both have been around both leagues, can see the differences. But how was it back then between the DL and the second league? Because I know for a fact, like a lot of teams in the second league were paying, ridiculous money to try to put two good teams together. I think back then they had the relegation and promotion at some times. But how did the leagues compare?
um well, for me, it was actually, I have to say, it was easier to play in a DL than it was in DL2. Like in a DL2, it was more wild, at the time. There's some teams that play with a structure. Obviously, it wasn't that fast like the DL, but kind of like for my game, it was easier to play in a DL than in a DL2. But I have to say also, when I look back, and I'm not talking about the year or the season when I started to play in a DL, but I'm talking maybe 2010, 12, when I was looking at some highlights from that time. that looks like a different sports to me, like compared to now. That's for sure.
I'm sure there was a bit more hooking and stick work back then, and especially today, just like it feels like everybody can skate. I mean, it's a bad skater is almost like an above average skater. Like it's not like it was back then. I'm sure. Um, and back to Dusseldorf, you guys, you played 8 seasons there. It seemed to me, just by doing some research, you guys had good teams every year. Maybe your last year you guys weren't so good, but you had a couple semifinals, you made finals appearances. What was allowing them to have so much success back then? Was it keeping a lot of the core guys in place and then just making small changes to the puzzle, or was it coaching staff, money, or a bit of everything?
Well, it was a yeah, that's a really good question. We I remember we had an unbelievable group of guys, like the core of the guys stayed more or less for always for a couple of years, and what I remember really good from that time was that we competed really hard in the practices. Like when we played games or small area games, like there was lots of competition. Sometimes we would have little fights or like a little shoveling in the practices. But it was always fair, because everybody wanted to win, and of course we had a couple of really skilled or talented guys, so it was kind of like a good mix. And Lance Nether, he was a manager for 7 years out of 8. I played in Dusseldorf. He did a really good job, putting the teams together. I was really pleased to have outstanding coaches, at the time in Düsseldorf. Just to name a couple, as I mentioned, Donnie Jackson, Slavo Leonard, Jeff Tomlinson, Harry Kreis, so unbelievable coaches, unbelievable people. And yeah, I mean, yeah, we unfortunately couldn't go all the way. We went twice to the finals, lost twice in semifinals, always against Iceberg Berlin. We talk about the luck. That there was the golden era from the Iceberg Berlin. I believe they won like 7 championships in 9 years at a time. So yeah, my first year actually we won. I don't think the competition is going on anymore. The German Cup, that was unbelievable too at the time. Like we had the finals at the old ring in Dusseldorf. We went into overtime. We beat Mannheim. Yeah, just really good memories. Yeah.
I think I honestly saw a picture of that a couple of days ago when Donnie retired. I think somebody posted a picture of that, and I thought I saw you and Solte in there. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, yeah. I mean, I think you said it, like that competitiveness. That's wanting to get better every day in practice. That's something that I've personally noticed that with coaching today. I don't think everybody feels that way at times. It's sometimes just going through the motion, or maybe they're not motivated that day. And ultimately, the teams that have success, obviously, more days than not, they're giving it their all, competing. Yeah, sometimes it's going to get heated or emotional, but that's just because everyone has a passion and they're competitive. And
yeah.
I wanted to ask you before we talk about, because obviously you ended up retiring at the age of 38, but I wanted to ask you, why do you think, or what made those Berlin teams so successful? Because as you said, they went on a stretch where whatever it was, 5-7 or 7 and 10 years of winning championships.
Well, I like like I in in my opinion, they're one of the best hockey man in German hockey. That's Peter John Lee, who did their he's still working for the Iceberg, for the organization. I think he's on the board now. but he did unbelievable job. Like actually when he came to Berlin, like they didn't have lots of success, and he just built it up. Of course, the relationship with the LA Kings. They have the same owner, Mr. Anschutz.
Hmm.
That helps a lot too. But you still need to build it up. You need to build up the connection. You need to the relationship. And all the stuff around. And yeah, he had a plan. He executed it well. And I think that was the main reason why they had a really strong core of the German players. The born in '85, really good, unbelievable players. But they also, um, you know, um, they did a job with them, right? Like they've been recruiting them in a really early age, and start working with them when they are, I don't know, 17, 18. And that paid off in the end. And of course they had some really good leadership group in there too. Like really good import players, unbelievable goalies. Always. And those are all the ingredients you need to have when we're talking about the legacy teams. Like the teams they've been successful for a long time, right? Period of time.
Yeah, I mean, you just basically laid everything out there to how to how to build a successful team and consistently have a successful franchise. Yeah, so the next thing, and like obviously, everybody as a playing career, there's a time when it comes to an end, and yours obviously ended at the age of 38. I'm curious, was it, you were kind of, the body was maybe falling apart a little bit. Obviously, that year, I think you guys had a not very good year, so maybe it wasn't as fun. You were kind of losing the playing passion or motivation, or was there something ahead in the future in terms of a job that you kind of had in the line? Like what made you decide to retire?
Well, my last year here in Düsseldorf, um, we like before that year we lost the big sponsor here, and like the team lost a big sponsor. So we knew that the team's gonna be, or let's put it this way, it's not gonna be that competitive in the league. We had lots of young guys. They're still playing in the league though, but at the time they're like 18, 19 years old, and we knew the quality is not going to be there, so that was way different than what I experienced the years before. But yeah, I mean, I was 38, as you mentioned, and I had two injuries that year. I had the MCL, I think, yeah, and then I broke my hand blocking a shot, and that was actually my last game. It was just a couple of games before the end of the regular season. And I still had some offers. I could still keep playing hockey, but I'm for like inside of me, there was something saying no. Then this was it. Like in to end up the career in Dusseldorf, I think that was the right decision. Yeah,
I think
looking
that's one
back.
of the hardest things to do as an athlete. It doesn't matter if it's
Uh,
hockey or anything. It's picking the right time. Like some guys obviously get to choose, some guys don't because of injuries or other reasons. But you know, and someone like yourself, like I've talked to multiple people, like they said you were always, one of the fittest people. You took, you know, your training really seriously, and that got me thinking to, like, how did you become kind of like a student of that? So learning how to train, learning how to eat, to where every year you knew how to get yourself, in shape for the season.
yeah, that's another good question because I think it was the whole experience I went through, as I mentioned. Grow up in a different system. Like The training at the time was way different. Like we used to practice in the summers twice a day. We had just a couple weeks off. And it was really really hard, right? But then when I went Germany, obviously everybody was by himself. There was like back in Slovakia, we used to practice all together as a team even in summer, because we had the contracts, so it was mandatory, and it was hard. And then when I went to Germany, I was more or less by myself, so I had to find a way, how to be in shape. And I tried different stuff. Obviously, lots of like NHL off-season programs, and then also like talking to different experts, and having my own off-season plan. And then I was really fortunate. I went to LA, to have my last 3 weeks of the off-season weeks before we started the training camp in Dusseldorf here, and to spend time with at the time it was called Athletes Performance. Now it's Exos, right? And that taught me a lot. There was like a way different approach, like. And I remember when I came back after the first time. I went there like 4 or 5 times. Um and, and the first time when I got back, it was like it was literally a wow effect to my body, how I felt. And at the time I was already 30, and I was really really happy, to get a chance, or to go there and practice, and that kind of like influenced my next couple of years. And even till now, I'm really strong believer that the stuff they do is the right thing to do.
I think personally, every athlete they learn at their maybe their own pace or at a different ages how to train, how to eat, etc. The ones who can learn it earlier, that obviously gives them more of an advantage, I think, because they're prepared for what comes over the next, how many years they play pro hockey. But I feel, and we've talked about this before, that in Germany, like especially, I think it might be a little bit lost on at least the hockey side, because there's a lot of kids coming into these minor hockey, and they don't know how to eat, or they don't know how to train and stuff like that. And I wish there was a way to kind of simplify it where, the minor hockeys could have, maybe a dietitian that comes in once every couple months, or they have a strength coach working with guys every day. I'm sure some do, but not every organization can do that for multiple reasons. But I think, like, would you agree when I say the future of hockey, and especially the future of European hockey and development, that they need to kind of start looking at these kind of things and asking those questions? How can we implicate this into our training systems?
Well, I like when we talk about the youth programs in Europe. Like you have to I think you have to really specify of uh, about which country we talk, like because I I I I know, and or I'm talking to seeing different. I work in Switzerland. I worked in Slovakia. Actually, I just came back from Sweden. When I got a really good view of of the youth. The hockey in Sweden, you have to really specify, about which country or even the region you talk about, because I believe there are really good programs, or organizations in Europe, where they take care of every little detail, that's really important, for the hockey player, to grow and to get better, but yeah, when we talk about Germany, of course there is a lot of room for improvement. And also, we have kind of you know couple of really good organizations when they pay attention, like I said, to every detail. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, I think perfect example, like as you just said, you were just in Sweden. I'm sure you saw a lot of things there that were great for your learning, kind of eye-opening, things that maybe could wish could come to Germany. And there's a reason every year in the NHL draft, they have how many ever kids getting drafted, whether it's 30, 40, 50 kids every year getting drafted. There's a reason, there's 17, 18-year-old kids playing in the top league and producing, you know, and I think that goes back to the development, their practice habits and teaching at a young age.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And I have to go back. I have to go back to what I said before, like the competition, right? Like in Sweden, they have so many kids. There's a competition going on. Like it's I think that's the base. Like if you have just kids, I mean, hockey is such a great sport. And it also has its social purpose, right? But at certain age, it's about to compete and to become a pro, right? And I strongly believe that the most important thing for any youth organization is to to develop the culture, and the surrounding when you can, have that competition, at certain, let's say at 13, starting at 13, 14 years old, when it's like the health, the healthy environment, when it can just grow. And I strongly believe that that's the most important thing, that you need to have if you want to be success, in the youth, and to bring up, players, either it's for the NHL or for the first team or for the pro hockey, like that's yeah, that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I definitely can agree there. Transitioning back to your kind of journey now, since we got a little off topic with the minor hockey, but that's okay. After you were done playing, you got to go work for the Ice Bear in Berlin, a team that we just talked about with their success. You got your foot in the door as a conditioning coach, strength coach, I believe, and then you went into the assistant coaching position. I was just curious, being working in an organization like that has such a rich history, especially at that time within the last 10-12 years, having a really successful championship pedigree. Were you every day, kind of learning, picking things from the other coaches, practices, stuff like that kind of helped you build your coaching formula, your coaching recipe that you like strongly believe in and use today?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mentioned already a couple of times. I was really glad to have that start in such a great organization, as the Iceberg Berlin is, right? Like, in my books, one of the best organizations in Europe. It's certainly the Iceberg. And then, um, as I mentioned before, Peter John Lee, mm, doing unbelievable job in there. And it was, for me, it was like university, right? Like, I spent there 3.5 years. And you know it was a really really good experience, working with Jeff Tomlinson or Uwe Krupp. It definitely influenced my way, up to now. And no, really really good times. And it's I I also believe that it's not only like the certain job itself, as let's say assistant coach. Like, you need to, um in my books, you need to lay out, a strong base, different things to learn, like if it's the off ice, if it's the conditioning, if it's the the work with the video, or like all different parts of you need to be as a sponge, just get just hammer everything in you what you can, on the way,
Yeah, being a sponge. I mean, I think that's the easiest way to say it. And any good coach who obviously started as an assistant coach, I believe that's what they would have been doing, just kind of soaking everything in, learning every day, taking little things from this coach, next coach, to, as I said, to create that formula. And kind of in your journey too, as I just talked about. So you were lucky to work in Eisbären, Berlin, and then you went to Krefeld for a year, but then also you went to Switzerland and Rapperswil. So obviously, Switzerland is, I don't know, probably top three, top five best European leagues in the world. And in my opinion, it's great hockey, great way of living. How was that experience as well for you and your learning?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, what's really important, to know when you go, to a different country, is to know, that the people are different, right? The mentality is different, and I think that understanding, you have to take with you, and to learn it from the beginning on. You cannot just come in there. It doesn't matter where it is. You need to that kind of, yeah, adaptation. Like, because yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a hockey or a different job, but you're working with people, right? And people are different. So, you need to have that understanding of human being. And I always say, when you work, like within the hockey team, yeah, you have 22, let's say you have 22 two hockey players, 25 hockey players, but I'm saying you have 50, right? Because you have that physical part, which everybody's different, and then you have that mental part, the character. Yeah, each person is different, right? So, that's kind of like what I learned when I went to Switzerland, like, just to handle people differently, right?
How was it? So how was it different? I guess I would say, compared to Germany. Like, how was the mentality of the players and maybe the physical, like, part of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I came to Rapperswil, they just got promoted from the second league to the top league. So basically, we kept more or less the same team, from that from the team, which played in the second league before, the year before. But um, again, yeah, Swiss players are really really skilled, right? Like, most of them are really really skilled. They my in my opinion, that you cannot apply the same approach as in Germany. In Germany, it was more structured, and in Switzerland, it's more, they need a little bit of freedom, I would say, like in the game, like, you cannot apply that much pressure, like, system wise. Of course, you need a system, no question about that. But yeah, the hockey in there is way different. It's fun to watch. Like, as you know too, I mean, you've been in touch with Swiss hockey for a long time. Like, it's an exciting game. There's lots of going on. In one shift, up and down hockey. Scoring chances. A really excited hockey to watch, definitely.
And after your experience in Switzerland, you become a head coach. So you go to Slovakia for 2 years, and then in Germany, where we ended up meeting. But my question is, after that year in Rappi, did you feel, the past 4 or 5 years had kind of prepared you to the point where, hey, I'm ready to be that head guy. I'm ready to be the one in control and be ultimately a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, but in my case, I think it was the timing was perfect. The timing was perfect. I I had at the time enough experience, seen a different kind of hockey. As I said, different personalities, different hockey players. Worked for different organizations. Um, so I think in my case at the time it was the right step to do. But I mean it's for everybody it's different, right? Like sometimes you're gonna get a chance to be a head coach, and you need to just take the opportunity. So for everybody it's different, but yeah, as you mentioned, for me, after whatever it was, 5.5 years, and having the different um, experiences, it was a perfect timing for me. Yeah. And then in Slovakia, coaching Slovan Bratislava, which was my, now we go back in my youth times. There was the team when I signed my first pro contract. So that was kind of cool. My hometown, Bratislava. Yeah, it was it was another good experience. I had in my career. Yeah.
I was just quickly doing so the first year you went to Slovakia, I believe was the first Corona year. So I don't believe there was playoffs in Nietzsche there. But
Yeah.
I would say just quickly going over the next 2 years as a head coach. I mean, you go to the semifinals with Bratislava, and then obviously the next year when you transition to Krimichau in Germany, we that's where we ended up meeting together or meeting each other and working together. You know, from what I saw that year, especially, like you were able to kind of install a mindset there, almost change the culture there because at the time they had always been a team just kind of happy to be in the league. That was how they were when I played against them and stuff like that. And you really installed mentally in those players and in that organization as, that's not good enough. Like, let's try to do something here. Let's try to be the best that we can be. And that year we ended up finishing sixth place, which I think is the best they've ever finished. Um, when you look back on that year especially, like does it give you like a sense of pride and kind of like, hey, I know what I'm doing here because you were able to take a team. I guarantee you, started that season, no one would bet money Krimichal would have finished top six.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like when we compare to the two different seasons in Slovakia with Slovan, when we went to semifinals, and actually I still believe we should win that series in the semifinals. But yeah, that team was built like in the last second, right? Like it was like there was new ownership coming in, like in, I think it was end of July, beginning of August. No players signed. So we kind of put the team together, and like the team was forming during the season, and like I said, in the end of the day, we had two guys who got hurt. Also, important guys, top six forwards. And then in the end of the day, we lost the series, I believe 4-1, but like two of the games we lost in overtime, a really tight series. And then comparing to Krimicha, it was again a different situation. And yeah, I strongly believe that the differences in between the teams, are not that big. That if you go in there, and if you can pull the guys on your side, and make them believe that they can make it happen, that actually in the end of the day, you might end up as a big surprise or whatever it is. Of course, you have always in every league you have a top teams, they have the top quality, the biggest budgets. It's hard to compete with them, then in the end of the season, when the playoff starts. But it's a the season. It's a long marathon, right? And if you can get the guys, together and pull on the same side of the rope and believing in it, and of course, you as a coaching staff need to lead the way, right? And that's what I believe we did, in Kermichau. And also we had a good group of guys. We had a really good, outstanding goalie, which you need as always, So no, there was a really good experience and confirmation of the thoughts you have as a coach on your way.
Yeah, no, I as you said, I think especially in the adult too, you have your top teams, a lot of money, but the difference itself, I think, we proved and we found a way to show to people that yeah, we might have the biggest budget, but we can play the right way, and ultimately it's going to lead to success, which they ended up having. Um, so now to kind of a couple more questions here until we're done here, but I want to just kind of transition back and forth between a couple of random things. Firstly, can you just talk to me, talk to the audience here about your love for tennis? Like I have never seen a guy want to play tennis so much in his life, and I am so thankful that I said no the day you asked me.
Well, I mean, I yeah. When I was young, now we go back in my young age. That's what we used to do in summer, right? I play lots of tennis, soccer, tennis, and then when I starting playing pro, there was not so much time, and I came to Germany, and obviously there was no golfing before, and so I started golfing here in Germany. No time for tennis at all. And then I had to stop playing golf because I settled down, family, two kids, so no time for golfing. So I got back to tennis, and now I'm full into it again, right? I uh, I re I really enjoyed play soccer also. There was my kind of like the 2 or 3 years ago, I had to stop playing soccer because of my knee, and I like I said, I got full into tennis, and I just love it. It's I can spend the whole day on the tennis court, and it's family friendly too. You bring your family over, they're having good times. They play a little bit tennis, hit the ball, so that's why I end up playing tennis again.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, there's been some very, very good battles the past couple of years. And again, I am so thankful I denied your request the one day. But you briefly brought up, you're obviously a father now. You're married. I got two kids, both of them who are into sports as well, especially hockey. I wanted to ask, is it cool for you to kind of be on the other side of it now? Your dad, obviously, your parents would have went through it with you growing up. Now you're going through it with your kids. Is that just something every day taking them to the rink, watching them on the ice, kind of brings you some joy?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Every time I have a chance, to go on the ice with them, or just be at the games, yeah, that's hey man, that's the best time, right? Or if we just go, we just went today, play a little bit soccer, kick the ball around, like that's what life is about, like having a good time with your family, with the kids, and yeah, obviously, that makes me happy, to see them, to yeah, to be healthy, and having fun, playing different sports, and especially hockey. It's yeah, that's been fun lately.
That's awesome to hear. Now, looking back on your whole career, both coaching and playing, The first question I have is: has there been any like adversities that you specifically have gone through yourself and you kind of overcame to get to where you were or are?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I said early, like it was when I signed the first contract. I was the youngest player on a team. And the times were different at that age. And obviously I got the two massive or yeah, big injuries, major injuries, my shoulders, within 1 year, left and right, having surgeries, and almost quitting hockey. And but as we talked before, like it doesn't matter if it's hockey or sport or life. I believe you need to have that, or overcome the adversity to become, if it's a better player, better person, whatever it's in life. But if you need to work hard for it, then you need to deserve certain things in life. And I truly believe that whatever it is, doesn't come just by itself, but you need to work for it hard, and you need to deserve it. And even if you set your goals really high, and you don't achieve them, but in the end of the day, when you then sit down and say, I did everything that was really in my will, in my power, then you can be happy with yourself.
Couldn't have said that better myself. Definitely 100% agree with that. That's something that I believe in as well. Hopefully, a lot of other people, as you said, whether it's sports or just in life, believe that too, because I said it before too. Good things happen to good people. Hard work, normally pays off and you get rewarded for that. Um, Two more questions here. So, second last one I wanted to ask: when you look back at your career, I think I know the answer to this, but do you like when you look back on it, did you ever think you would have the career that you had? I know you briefly talked about at one point you wanted to quit and go study and go get a psychology degree, I believe it was. But when you look back on everything, given where you are now, like, does it kind of like, surprise you got to where you were, or you kind of look back and you're, no, I could see this is how I saw it happening?
No, 100% not. 100% not. And I hope you had the same answer, right? No, 100% not. And that's the beauty of the life, right? Like, if you would know, back in there when you're young, like, this is how it's gonna look, in the end of the day, or your career, or whatever it is. I think that's the beauty of life. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, of course, you can have your stable life, and all that. But in sport, there are so many surprises. If it's a game, if it's a season, if it's a series, whatever it is, and there are so many factors, right? Like, how the team's going to come together, the injuries, and so many. If the corona is going to show up, you never know, right? Like, it's like so many yeah, so many little things that influence your career, right? And your life, actually, in the end of the day, right? So yeah, you know you I definitely didn't see the path, bring me to this point. But at the same time, it's that's the beauty of it. Like, you need to enjoy every day, even if you don't have the best day in your life, but it's still out there. And there is also a reason why you don't have a really good day, right? So you just need to overcome it and just move forward. The next one is coming.
Yep, that's very true. Last one here. Obviously taking up enough of your time tonight. As you said, it is later in Germany, but I like to ask everyone who's on the podcast this just to kind of end it. When you look back on your younger self, so 16, 17, 18 years old, what is one piece of advice or maybe a couple pieces of advice you would give yourself and for maybe the younger generation listening who see themselves or dream of one day playing pro at a high level for a long time and then also getting into coaching?
Yeah, I mean, to be a player at a young age, I think yeah, one of the biggest parts is we talk about it so many times, just to work hard, compete day in, day out, play with passion, have that passion, that desire, that fire in yourself, to be better every day. I think that's the most important thing. Like, you just need to love to do what you do, right? And I think that's the biggest a part of being successful. Like I said, you're not gonna have a every day is not gonna be the greatest day in your life, but whatever you do out there, just do it with a passion, do it with a love, and then then you're gonna find a way, to be successful. Because yeah, that's the other thing. Like, what does it mean to be successful, right? Getting better every day, right? Getting better every day, and whatever in the end of the day, you're gonna end up at, we don't know, but if you give everything you got, and then you do it with a passion and love, or then you're on a pretty good path, I would say. uh,
Yeah, and that's the one of the reasons why I like doing this kind of podcast is, you have multiple people on with different experiences. Like you yourself, you were able to play in the top league in Germany. Other people I've had on, they played college hockey and played 1 year pro, and that was it. They went in another direction. And like you said, the definition of success is different from person to person. But I also believe, if you're someone that worked hard every day, didn't view hockey at any level as a job, it's a passion, that you probably would get the most out of it. And it doesn't mean the most out of it doesn't mean the most money, play for 20 years. It just means you can look back and be like, hey, that was a great time. I really gave it my all and I did my best. And I think sometimes that's forgotten. I think sometimes people measure success by how much money I've made this year, what level I play. Um, and I think that's unfortunately not the way to go about in life.
no, 100%, 100%. And yeah, well, like you mentioned, like, it's unfortunate that it's a time, we are going through, I always break it down to the values, right? What values you're in for, and that's like, when you grow up, there are the three major surroundings, right? It's your family, when you grow up. Then it's the school, and if you play hockey, it's the surrounding in around that club or in the team you're in, and that kind of mold in a person you become. Then when you later on, when you grow, and yeah, it's there are so many topics, and so many things that influence as a person in your way. Either it's if you're a hockey player, or if you whatever you are, like, as a sportsman, right? But yeah, no, it's been like I said, like, I love my job. There are so many jobs in hockey, it's always, I believe, you need to be wide open, for anything. You don't know what's coming, and yeah, to have that, as we talk early on, to have that wide base, so you're not, you're not too picky. Of course, you need to be the right place for you. You need to be kind of like in peace when you when you're taking the job, and then yeah, just go in there and do it with passion, right?
Passion is all. Yeah. So, Marian, I appreciate you taking the time out of your life to come on here. I think we've been going for about an hour or so here, but I really do believe that you gave some definitely insightful stuff tonight. The way you think about the game, the way you approached it, how you developed, the way you coach today. I think everything you've talked about today is very beneficial for everyone to hear, and hopefully, as we talked about, they can, especially with the passion part, the level of success. Hopefully, they can take that in mind and you know create a plan for them to see how far it can take them, and to know that just measuring success is different and everyone should have their own individual goals. It shouldn't be just a standard goal of make the NHL. That's great to have that, but that should be the ultimate goal. There should be other goals along the way. See how many of those you can check off. But again, my friend, thank you for taking the time. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon in Germany.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Really good thing you got get there going on, I really appreciate it that you gave me a chance. We could have a good talk in here, and yeah, hopefully, people out there can make their own opinions on it and take out whatever is best for them. And yeah, hockey. I think we didn't mention hockey is fun, right? Hockey is fun. That's the game. That's why we're doing it.
It is very fun, and sometimes that's forgotten, but always keep in mind fun first. So, for those listening, thanks again, and until next week, cheers and ciao.